I am a woman posting this. I can say from some perspectives, I understand. When you put yourself in situations, things can happen. But my point is, if she is cheating on the trip, chances are she was cheating prior, even if it wasn't physical. How does a trip miraculously make someone a cheater? I'm genuinely trying to understand the logic. I feel like it is equivalent to someone's partner going to the Dominican Republic, and there are horror stories with that. I just fail to believe she is so loyal all the way up to the Miami girls trip. If anything, it seems to be an excuse and she was always a cheater, even if she didn't fully act on it. Again, not making excuses, I am genuinely curious. Story 1. I used to play live music in Nashville. There wasn't a single night that went by without either myself or someone in one of my groups being propositioned by a married or engaged woman on a girls' trip. This happened hundreds of times. Brides-to-be were the easiest by far. A woman days from getting married was often perfectly happy to perform oral sex on a perfect stranger because she was drunk and he played marginal covers of terrible country songs, usually with all her bridesmaids encouraging her. Story 2. Okay, my wife goes on trips all the time and I do not care outside of the actual timing, money, and so on. But your logic is flawed. Cheating does, in fact, start somewhere. Being drunk and surrounded by bad influences is a pretty common place for it to start. Trips do not automatically make you a cheater, but they are a place with a lot of temptation. Story 3. The girl's only trip does not make her a cheater. Context matters here. Is she going with her mother and sister? No problem. Have fun. Is she going with single friends who want to party and meet random men? Have fun as a recently single woman. What kind of married woman has time and patience for this kind of behavior? Did she not get it out of her system in her 20s? Story 4. The only time I've ever had an issue with a girls' trip was when my wife got invited to a Renaissance fair on the other side of the state and was very excited about it, making Amazon lists for costumes and supplies. There were a couple of issues I had. My wife has never been interested in events like Renaissance fairs. I, however, really enjoy them, and she would never want to go if I suggested it. I know this for a fact because when the plans fell apart, I suggested that we could still go together. She was not interested. That really hurt my feelings and was my biggest issue. The friend who invited her wanted to bring two of her friends who are not the type of women I want my wife spending time with alone, drinking alcohol 8 hours away from home. I trust my wife implicitly. That said, these are the type of women who are unhappy with their lives and try to bring others down to their level. They thrive by encouraging others to ruin their own lives just to feel better about partying and destroying relationships while collecting children like stamps on a punch card. In the end, the plans fell through because of scheduling conflicts with the rest of the group. My wife and I had a good conversation about it. Story 5. Multiple things. Cost. Depending on her or her friends, trips can become very expensive. Someone suggests going to a spa one day, and suddenly that costs a few $100s. One friend suggests a fancy restaurant, orders a bunch of alcohol and appetizers, and splits the bill, leaving everyone out a few hundred each for the meal. So your girlfriend or wife goes on a girls' trip for a couple of days and comes back thousands of dollars poorer when you had plans as a couple to save for something. Bad influences. Some girls don't want their friends who are in relationships to be boring and ruin their single clubbing fun. So they push them to flirt and act single for fun. Maybe they aren't going to have sex with a stranger, but most people don't want their partner making out with someone else. Women have a much easier time attracting attention from men than vice versa, but it is not always attention from the right men. If a group of 5 women are going somewhere unfamiliar and all get too drunk, who is the responsible chaperone to make sure some opportunistic person doesn't take advantage of the situation? Vacation time from work or free time in general is limited. The man might say he wants to go on a trip as a couple, or even a family vacation if they have children, but she doesn't have vacation days left because this is the 5th girls' concert trip she has been on with her friends this year. Each time, she took Thursday and Friday off work and has used most of her vacation days on trips just for herself. There are a variety of reasons depending on the person. Story 6. This is not common where I live, but I have read some comments and stories about the cheating trip. The fear is that although you might trust your partner, you have little faith in their party friends who have casual relationships or seem to change partners frequently. The problem with the trip is that these friends might actively or passively peer pressure your partner into doing something unwise, putting them in a bad situation. They might say things like, "What happens in location stays in location," or "Everyone does it." Despite your partner having the best intentions, given enough alcohol and pressure, they can make mistakes like all humans. That said, people are not the same. Many friend groups are not like this, and men who have heard such stories might not fully understand the nuance or make good judgments. Story 7. Honestly, there are many factors like the location, her friends, and whether she has a history of cheating. My ex was a great person, but her friends were not. They brought out the worst in her and eventually started telling her that cheating is acceptable if it is about finding your happiness. She did not cheat on me, as far as I know, but seeing them talk about it and even consider cheating with a specific person in mind was enough for me to walk away. Personally, I do not have a problem with a girls' trip. My only concern would be the people going, whether they are a bad influence and how impressionable my partner is. Story 8. Distance makes people do things they otherwise wouldn't. I don't mind if my wife goes on trips with friends. It just depends on which friends. I have buddies I shouldn't go to the bar with unless I want trouble or a myriad of other problems to happen. Same with girls, her married friends are pretty chill. Her less reliable friends are less comforting. Story 9. I have been dating for over 3 years, and my girlfriend has never asked for a girls' trip. I feel confident saying she would not want one. If I ever wanted to take a boys' trip, she would be completely against it as well. You said it yourself. When you put yourself in situations, things can happen. If you want to maintain a serious commitment, it is your responsibility not only to avoid cheating but also to avoid putting yourself in situations where cheating could easily occur. When someone is a recovering alcoholic, they do not enter liquor stores to look at the bottles and challenge their temptations. They simply avoid liquor stores. Out of sight, out of mind. Story 10. A girl's trip is not bad per se, but consider who her friends are and what they are into. Are her friends involved in the party lifestyle, drinking, and one-night stands? Do they cheat or condone cheating? What is their approach to relationships and loyalty? The company you keep will influence you to some degree. If she is around a group of single friends who have fundamentally different core values and morals from yours and hers, and alcohol in certain environments are involved, that is a recipe for disaster. You are opening a can of worms. If she goes on a girls' trip with questionable friends who tell her it is all about finding herself and being free, that is equivalent to a man taking a boys' trip to a strip club and telling his partner to trust him and not be insecure. Nothing good comes from putting yourself in certain environments. Let's be real, just like bachelor and bachelorette parties. Cheating happens frequently on girls' trips. Most times, she may have no intention of doing so, but one thing often leads to another, and you find yourself compromised. I personally refrain from certain situations to avoid even opening the door to temptation. Her going on a girls' trip with certain friends could be rolling out the red carpet or leaving a door cracked for temptation, even if she normally is not the type to engage in those behaviors. Story 11. Again, not making excuses. I am genuinely curious. No, you are not. You answered your own question in the third sentence of your post, and then you spent the rest of it making excuses. Story 12. I think generally people refrain from different things out of respect for their partner. Not because those actions would definitely lead to cheating, but because they certainly could and would likely make their partner uncomfortable. Now, does girls' trips apply as one of those things? I would certainly say so if it was a mommy trip. I think it would not be unreasonable for a man to be extremely uncomfortable with the idea. Also, I wouldn't underestimate the influence of a group of women. They can gaslight each other into doing many extremely foolish things. This probably depends on the group of women, but the issue is it only takes 1 or 2 bad apples to cause a problem. Not to say groups of men don't have similar issues. When a group of men gets together and drinks, someone is probably going to try something risky and dangerous. Many hold my beer moments occur. That said, men generally do not convince each other to cheat, while I cannot say I have not heard women doing just that. I do not know how common it is, but honestly it is incredibly crazy that anyone would do such a vile thing. Story 13. I am going out with my single women friends while they are meeting new people, and I am just supervising, I swear. Story 14. Depends on the type of girl's trip. Just like a guy's trip can be anything from going hiking in the woods to going to Las Vegas for entertainment, girls' trips can be enjoyable or problematic. It's important not to put yourself in risky situations. For example, if you wear expensive clothes and jewelry and walk alone in a dangerous neighborhood, you are likely to get robbed. Avoid situations where trouble can occur. Alcohol and drugs can impair judgment and lead to poor decisions. Story 15. Because we have a clear understanding of what happens on girls' trips and girls' nights out. Many of us have experienced girls engaging in those activities. It is unreasonable for you to ask that question. Story 16. He may trust you, but he may not trust your friends because he notices that there are some untrustworthy people in your circle who have been resentful about this relationship of yours for a long time. They have no shame in projecting their inability to find a partner and convincing you about the supposed benefits of being single. He won't know. Don't worry. It's just a little fun. And now you are drunk and one thing led to another. This story has been told often enough, and I think men are well aware that this is just the influence from within the social circle. Then there is the hostility towards committed monogamy from certain sources. On top of that, men with no respect for your boundaries. Combine all of that, assign a high price to that situation, and try to persuade a man why this is better than you and him going on a trip together. And I guess we could think about what would happen if the roles were reversed. Story 17. The issue is that many men have slept with women on girls' trips who had boyfriends, so they understand just how loose a good girl can be when her partner is not around. Infidelity is more common than not, so while trusting your partner is important, it is also important to be realistic. Also, it is not just men who succumb to social pressure. Many women are not the alphas in their friend groups and can be influenced to be looser on trips. Story 18. When I was backpacking in Australia, I met many women who had boyfriends back home and were there more to party and go to clubs than to see the sights and scenery. I have witnessed similar experiences when I was younger, so I know it is not just an anomaly. Context does matter, the person going on the trip, the stage and status of the relationship, and so on. If my girlfriend in my 20s said she was going backpacking through Europe or somewhere else without me, I would wish her the best and end our relationship right there. Conversely, if your boyfriend said he planned a trip without you with his friends, how would you feel? Story 19. What is this about men going to see a doctor? If they are sick or injured, they should see a doctor. What are you talking about? Story 20. I have been the guy in the middle of all those half-drunk, flirtatious women, just having a good time with the girls. Believe me, they are anything but innocent. Even the most innocent women who would never consider cheating at home ended up getting to know me intimately. Women are highly impressionable, and all it takes is one of her single friends on the trip encouraging her to hook up with a random attractive man and a little bit of alcohol for her to end up in my bed. Watch some of the dancing bear videos to see how groups of women often behave on girls' trips. Fair warning, the videos are not safe for work because they contain explicit sexual content. Story 21. Because cheating is much easier for a woman than a man. Surrounding themselves with alcohol and attractive men is too much temptation, in my opinion. Story 22. While I am not someone who will immediately be against a girl's trip, it all depends on how she has been behaving lately, who is going on the trip, and what they will be doing. The truth is, someone who is not a cheater can still cheat. Alcohol, peer pressure, and other factors can lead someone to make poor decisions. I am a firm believer that a faithful person will not even dream of putting themselves in a position to cheat, much less have to face temptation. The narrative of girls' trips is that they tend to throw caution to the wind as a way to let loose. So, in my opinion, it is up to the woman to convince her partner that everything will be transparent, not for the man to have blind faith that everything will be fine. Trust is not one way. Trust is not given. It is earned. If you want your partner to trust you, then you give them a reason to and do not give them a reason to be suspicious. Saying just trust them is a poor way of telling someone to accept a situation even when there is a good reason not to. Story 23. If you have ever been on a women's trip, you know exactly what kind of things happen, especially when alcohol is involved. Story 24. If I am going on a trip, I would want my partner to go along if we have been together long enough, unless it is something she does not want to do like rock climbing. Also, there are some people who see trips with friends, such as girls or guys trips, bachelor parties or bachelorette parties, as a night or weekend of freedom and do things they would not normally do, like cheat. I do not understand why anyone would want to be with someone like that, but it is definitely a reality. Story 25. Unless they are constantly going out without you, their opportunities to go out and cheat are limited and unlikely to happen. The easiest way to understand it is this. If men go out looking to cheat on their significant other, they have to actively pursue women and are more likely than not to be rejected. They might get a few chances a night, but that is about it. If a woman goes out, unless she is unattractive, she is likely to be approached multiple times a night. Opportunities will be presented to her repeatedly. Men have to actively pursue cheating. Women generally do not have to pursue it. It is offered to them repeatedly. So when women go on trips with friends, even if they are not intending to cheat, they are more likely to encounter opportunities. When alcohol is involved, the chances increase. Ultimately, it comes down to many men being very insecure. Story 26. When you put yourself in situations, things can happen. It is written as if some man just magically ends up in these women's lives, or they accidentally encounter someone at the club, as if they had absolutely no control or responsibility for what happened. Hey, we were on a girls' trip. Things just happened. That said, this is one of those perspectives I kind of disagree with. I understand the motive and the intent of the warning, but I can't support it. I haven't yet figured out a way to guarantee your partner will never step out on you, but I know for a fact that the way to ensure she steps out on you is to start telling her there are things she can and cannot do. Story 27. I love when my partner goes on a trip. It gives me alone time with my child and a lot of time to unwind in the evenings. There are fewer chores to do because I am taking care of two people, and my child is not very messy. I do start to miss her, but anytime she brings up a trip, I am ready to pack her bags. I want her to have fun. Story 28. This question has stirred quite a few thoughts. I am not sure I can give a good answer to it. I say that as someone who has had 3 relationships end at or not long after going on a trip. At the end of the day, it is about trust and respect. Trying to control the person you are with is not the answer and may make problems more likely. As others have said, it really is more about the purpose of the trip. Going out to let off steam could lead to potential trouble. Going to a spa or mountain house with friends, sisters, or family to relax is something we all need sometimes. Story 29. Honestly, it really depends on who you are going out with. If the women you are with are of good character and I know them well, then I do not have much to worry about. If they are the friends who talk negatively about me behind my back for whatever reason, then definitely not. Age is also a factor. I would expect a 30-year-old to have more self-control in that regard compared to someone in their early to mid-20s. That is not always true, but I remember being that young and many supposedly faithful young women got involved in questionable behavior once their boyfriend was not paying attention. It is not just about trust, but also about experience. We all know a male friend who was deceived by a girl who betrayed him by being unfaithful with his friends behind his back or went out with her girlfriends. Many of us have even been the person who fell for it. Story 30. Sometimes I'm just so glad I don't live in the United States. What a trashy culture. Imagine taking a vacation to cheat. Don't you want to visit new places? To try a nice restaurant and experience new food? To take pictures as memories of the beautiful views? I don't mean expensive trips, as any place is unique in its own way. I fail to understand those nasty so-called friendships where you are encouraged to cheat on your partner. Is this really your idea of fun? It must be so sad. Story 31. Because they are insecure about themselves and intimate relationships, they project their own insecurities and what they might do on a men's trip away from their partner. They also recognize what other men are like, which reminds them of what they were like as a single man, reinforcing the cycle of insecurity within themselves and the relationship. To put it in men's terms, if A plus B equals C, then it must mean D to Z. Story 32. It is because they know what they would do on a guy's trip and project that onto their partner. Or they are just controlling in general and do not want their partner to experience a good time without them. Story 33. It is not about the trip. It is about trust. If you do not trust your partner on a girl's trip, the issue is not the trip, it is the relationship. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.